Hi there, my name is JoaoBrunet. I'm a master's student in computer science at Federal University of Campina Grande, UFCG, Brazil, and I'm here to present DesignWizard, a tool that gives support to automatically check your code against design rules. We have developed this work at UFCG, and by we I mean my advisors Dalton Guerreiro, Jorge Figueiredo, and I. First of all, this is the agenda of the presentation. I'm going to start talking about the reasons that motivated us to do this work, and then I will talk about DesignTests, which is the key concern of our approach. After that, I'm going to talk about DesignWizard, which is the tool that we have developed to support design tests. Then I will talk about the benefits of using DesignWizard to check code against design rules. And finally, I'm going to discuss some tools that are related to DesignWizard. So, to check code against design rules is an important activity to guarantee quality on source code. It is well known that good designers think about good solutions or good implementations, but often programmers code without concerning these important design constraints. As a result, there exists a gap between design phase and implementation phase. One process widely used to detect design violations is design review, which consists in manually inspect the code looking for violations of design constraints. The problem with design review is that, being a manual process, design review is error-prone and does not scale as software grows. So we propose a new kind of test named DesignTests. A design test is an automated way to check whether an implementation complies with a given design rule expressed as an algorithm. In fact, a design test is a way to specify design rules and a way to check whether the implementation is following these design rules. So what's the big deal with design tests? First, it is written in the target program language. That is, if you have a Java application and you want to assure some structural properties in your Java code, you will write a design test only using Java programming language. Second, it is an automated test. Once you have written the test, you have only to execute it to check automatically whether the code is following the design rule specified by the design test. To become the things easier to understand, here is an example of a design test. We have applied it in one of our projects at UFCG. This project is our grid, which is a free-to-join peer-to-peer middleware for grid applications. Our grid has about 100,000 lines of Java code, okay? So, the leader of our grid came to us and specified the following design rule. Only controller package shall access the DAO package of the peer component. So what do I need to compose a design test for this rule? First, I will need information about the code, such as who are calling DAO package. These informations are called facts about the code. After that, I have to assure that the entities that call DAO package are only from controller package or the own DAO package. So I will need a certain routines. Then I need two components here, a fact extractor API that will give me information about the code and a testing framework that will provide me assertions routines. Here is an overview of the process of checking code against design rules with design tests. The designer thinks about a specific rule that he wants to be present in the code and uses a testing framework and a fact extractor API to create a design test. After that, he will execute the design test and has a success or a failure result. An important thing to note here is that the meaning of the design test execution is different from the functional test execution. While functional test checks whether the software does what it's supposed to do, a design test checks how the software has been built. So, in our Java implementation, we use JUnit as the testing framework and DesignWizard as the fact extractor. An important thing to note here is that we use the same infrastructure of JUnit to execute and report the results. That is, you will get a red bar or a green bar for your design test execution. This is to talk a little bit more about DesignWizard. DesignWizard is a tool that receives a jar file and then extracts facts from this jar file using ASM bytecode manipulator. The facts extracted are modeled in a set of entities and their relationships, and then DesignWizard exposes an API to get access to these information. So those who want to compose design tests will use this API to get access to information about the code. This figure is a snapshot of the Eclipse environment for the execution of our example. As we can see, the org is not following the communication rule for DAO package. Let's take a look into DesignTests implementation using JUnit and DesignWizard. The first thing to know is that our grid DesignTests extends test case. In fact, DesignTests are JUnit test cases that checks structural properties of the code. Here is the creation of DesignWizard instance. At this moment, DesignWizard applies static analysis to extract facts from the jar file. The other two steps show some methods of DesignWizard's API, such as getPackage and getColorsPackage. Finally, the code uses the assert_true routine from JUnit framework to assure that the colors of the DAO package are from controller package or from the own DAO package. Here are another rules that you can express with DesignTests. You can check whether your implementation is using a specific framework correctly. That is, if it is follow the design constraints imposed by the framework. As it happens with find bugs, you can also specify DesignTests to check the presence of bug patterns in the code, such as looking for cycle dependencies between packages. There are some benefits of specifying design rules as design tests. The first one is that a design test is easy to compose and maintain. Second, due to the fact that it is written in the same program language from that of the software being checked, a design test is easy to be understood by programmers. A design test is an automated test, so it is very simple to execute it. A design test can be used as an executable documentation of the design and can be added in the process development without much effort. To finish this presentation, I will talk about some related tools. We have FindBugs, which is a famous tool that searches for bug patterns in Java applications. Our work is similar to FindBugs, but we focus on rules related to the communication between the entities of the code, while FindBugs treats low-level bug patterns, such as looking for possible null pointer references. PMD is another related tool that checks for bug patterns. However, to specify new design rules in PMD is a little difficult because you have to learn complex data structures, such as abstract syntax tree. CheckStyle is a tool that checks whether the code is following some code conventions. Despite the fact that you can write design tests for this purpose, we are more interested in design decisions. So, if you want to know more about DesignWizard, visit our website, DesignWizard.org, and read the paper that describes our approach. This paper was accepted for publication at International Conference on Software Engineering. Thank you for listening to me, and I'm open for comments and questions. And sorry about embedding